Welcome to another Good e-reader video review. This is Marcus.
And this is Peter.
And today we're going to do a full review of the Sony PRS-T1. This is the brand new e-reader from Sony. So as you can see right off the bat, it looks like a very slick e-reader. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of it, let's just give you a little bit of specs. It is 16 levels of grayscale and it has a 6-inch e-ink pearl display. It goes both into landscape and portrait mode with software, so it doesn't have a built-in gyroscope or accelerometer. It has 2 gigs of internal storage, and you can increase this via the micro SD card on the back of the unit. You can increase this up to 32 gigs, which it's refreshing to see an e-reader that actually has expandable storage. So many e-readers that we see and review, they don't have any type of expandable memory. It has 1 month per charge once it's all charged up, and it roughly takes about 4 to 6 hours to charge it. It primarily reads EPUB, PDF, and text, and supports audio, MP3, and AAC. It's also a Wi-Fi enabled e-reader, and more on that later.
You can see, just looking at the device, it has a piano black finish compared to the old 650's matte finish, so you are going to see quite a bit of markings on the device. Another thing is that there is a stylus included. When you look at the 650 PRS, you will see the stylus come out of the top right about here. This one does not have a stylus embedded in the housing. However, this one comes with one in the box. You cannot store it on the device, and the clip is too small to be clipped onto the device itself. As Marcus mentioned, 6-inch screen. The button layouts I think are a lot better than the 650, so we have left and right and home, and something the 650 lacked is a back button. The T1, this device right here, now has a back button, so that really helps rather than that zoom button on the previous models. On the bottom here you see a reset button, you see a micro USB cable slot, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. You also have a power button on the bottom. You'll notice another thing different between this and the 650 is that this does not have hardware volume up, volume down. It is replaced with a power button, and the volume is now software driven on the screen itself when you are playing music. On the back is a micro SD card slot, and as Marcus said, expandable up to 32 gigs via micro SD, and that's pretty much it for the hardware of it. So we're gonna zoom on in here, and Marcus is gonna give you some software guide throughs here.
Okay, so we're going to give you a full review of all the software and everything that this unit entails. And let's just dive right into things. This is your home screen. So as you can see, these are the most recently added books. This e-reader came with a few free books, but there's a lot of different ways for you to be able to get content. You can hit this and you can see that it supports Google Books, Public Library, and you can see purchase content. So let's just dive into the content distribution system. The first thing is the reader store, and this is something that most Sony e-readers never had before. Most Sony e-readers did not have Wi-Fi, and so this made users that wanted to get content, you would have to jump through a lot of hoops. You would have to shop on your PC and then plug your e-reader into your PC, use Adobe Digital Editions, copy over the content. For your average user who's never had an e-reader before, it was just, it's just too many steps. With this, you can register and make an account, and you're good to go. Bestsellers such as J.D. Robb, aka Fern Michaels. You have your featured titles here. The Night Circus. So let's just check out, let's just click on a future title just to show you what the book's layouts look like. So you can see that Sony charges a little bit more than, say, Amazon. Amazon traditionally does the $9.99, and other stores are pretty competitive. You can check out about the author. additional info. When you buy the book actually gets sent via a Wi-Fi connection directly to your device. So if you find a book that you want, you can buy it and boom, it's like right on your device. So Sony e-reader store, super solid. Now, that isn't the only way that you can get books. It is also tapping into Google Books, and we're in Canada. And we recently reviewed the iRiver Story HD, which was the first e-reader to be bundled with Google Books. Now, because Google Books isn't offered in Canada, we couldn't even download free books. Sony has more or less embedded the entire Google Books experience within a Sony e-reader store. So, although Google Books isn't officially offered in Canada, we can still download all the free books, which I think is totally amazing. And so this will definitely work for other markets as well. So let's just check out what free books are in biography. And it has 5 pages of different genres. So let's just download whatever. The first book that we see. You can click on more info. And you can see that there really isn't a whole lot of stuff here. A lot of the Google Books are scanned books, so it's a free is definitely a good price. And let's download it. Okay, you see at the top here it says downloading. So download complete. The book's now on our device. We'll check that book out in a moment. The last thing I want to show you, and I think this is actually one of the coolest things and very, very unique to the Sony e-reader, is the public library system. This is the first e-reader that really makes it easy to borrow books from the library. The essence of this is you can download and borrow books and have them sent right to your device, where if you have, say, a Kindle e-reader and you recently have Kindle lending, the thing about that is you have to actually use your PC, you have to borrow the book from the library, and then physically plug in your Kindle to your PC to transfer the book, or do it over Wi-Fi. You can actually check out a book from the library within the e-reader. So with this, they actually have a dedicated app. So what you can do is any library that does business with Overdrive, you can do it. So there's libraries listed here for Canada, Great Britain, Ireland, and the States. And so let's just check out Canada. So I'll show you actually kind of like how they do things here. It seems that it's taking a little bit to load. So we're in BC, so I'm going to click on British Columbia. There is a lot of libraries listed here. I didn't know that BC had so many libraries that were doing business with Overdrive, and so this is kind of like an enlightening experience. So I can click here, and it'll actually take me to the official library site. So I think that this is like super cool, and you can actually browse for books and check them out. You do need a library card and you do need a PIN number, but as you can see, this is like the featured books of the library. You see a lot of bestsellers here. So I think that this is probably the coolest feature so far. I mean, being able to buy books from Sony, and not only buy books, but you can buy newspapers, graphic novels, and a whole lot more. You can borrow books from the library and send them right to your device over Wi-Fi, and you can also download millions of books via Google Books directly to your Sony e-reader. So it's full of content, both free and paid content, so I really dig that. So next, let's look at the book system. This is the way that it's sort of organized by default. So you see you can do different views. You can get sort of the pseudo library shelf view, or you can kind of go to where it's like more text and things like that. There's a lot of different sorting options, so you can sort, you can see all the options here. I'm not going to quote them verbatim, but you can see here. Let's open up a book and see what the book experience is. Let's check out I don't know, the Jungle Book. It's a quintessential classic. Okay, so you can see that cover art, picture-wise, looks very solid. You can either turn pages with the page turn button, or you can tap with the stylus. And there's options here to configure the text going from right to left or left to right. So let's check out first what we can do with the settings. You hit the settings, you can customize your view, you can write notes, do handwriting, change the fonts. So here's the original font. And I actually have quite a number of options to change different fonts. So let's try this one. And you saw the font's totally changed. If I want to make it bigger, there we go. Now this isn't all, and I think that this is kind of a cool feature here. If you hold down on a book, or a word, sorry, you have options to highlight it, add a note, search it, Wikipedia it, or Google it. And you see as soon as we highlight a word, we get the New Oxford American Dictionary. Now, let's just say that maybe I want to use a different one. You can click here and you have a ton of different dictionaries to be able to do. You can hit the options here. So you have like Italian, Dutch, Spanish, French, and so on. Now, with the stylus, I can actually hold this and select an entire word. And I could say, do a Wikipedia search. I could click here and do a Google search, and it'll open up the web browser. And here we go. Very cool. Let's look at the collections here. So it's like unread. You can create your own collections and put your own books there. So if your e-reader gets relatively full, you can copy over a bunch of books and organize it. So you can do, say, like fantasy or sci-fi and organize your books into like genres. So it's pretty easy and intuitive. So not only can you get a lot of content on here, but you can also, like all Sony e-readers, you can do notes. So here's some by default here. You can delete, you can protect them against delete, and so on. So this is one of the default notes. And so life is good. So you can see that one of the cool things about the way that you draw with the Sony e-reader is that the text, even though it's e-ink or whatever you draw or the lines, they actually do conform in real time. It isn't like a lot of e-readers that have like a lag where I might be drawing and maybe here, but the text is still trying to catch up. So that's the one cool thing about writing notes and drawing with the Sony e-readers, is that there's never really any delay in when you're drawing to when you actually catch up with like whatever you're doing. And you can, you know, delete things with the little brush or with the button stuff. So there we go. You can also draw notes within a book. So let me just kind of open up the Jungle Book again. So when I highlight a word, say like jungle, I can actually add a note. I can add a note via the keyboard or drawing. And you see that there's a little note button or a little note icon here. So I can hold down and tap on that, and it should give me the, and you should see the little note come up. So that's kind of neat. It's good for, I would assume, book clubs, for students, and just keeping track of like particular words and passages and things like that. You can do highlights, you can remove highlights, and so it really allows a lot of versatility. I kind of dig the way by default it does the dictionary, but then you also have the Google search, Wikipedia search. So far, I'm pleasantly surprised with this e-reader is that it allows a tremendous amount of features not really found in any other device. Now, you kind of see that when we turn pages, there is a little bit of flickering. Now this is it's pretty fast, but it is noticeable. There are a lot of other e-readers on the market. The new Amazon Kindle, this was the one that was just released, the $79 fourth generation. What it really did well in comparison to this, because they're both really new devices, so I'm going to talk about it, is that every 6 pages the screen refreshed like this, whereas almost every page does it. And I noticed this right off the bat because, for one, we both review e-readers for a living, and so I see a lot of e-readers. Most of them do it like this, but I'm always really happy when e-readers maybe do it every 6 pages or every 12 pages. It all depends on how the manufacturers set it up. So ebook experience, I'm a big fan of it. I do dig the fact that there are a lot of font options. You can highlight, take notes, and everything I mentioned kind of before. It is definitely a win. Let's just take a look at some of the final options here. You do have pictures, and you're able to actually, when you're browsing the web and doing things like that, you can actually take screenshots, and this will allow you to be able to save pictures. And yeah, this is sort of one thing that I haven't mentioned so far, but you can actually do this in books too. There's pinching and zooming features, and you can do this in the internet experience. You can do this within a book. Pretty well almost anything that every screen you can do it. So I'm a huge fan of the pinching and zooming functionality. So let's take a look at the audio. Now, this does not have built-in speakers, but it does have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and so you can listen to audiobooks and music. And again, it's MP3 or AAC. Before we did this video, I actually put some headphones in and had a listen, and I was actually pleasantly surprised that the sound quality is actually really good. There's nothing like an EQ or anything like that, so you're not going to really get a whole lot of loud sounding type things with the music here that was by default. I had it by max, and it wasn't that loud, but it was loud enough. But I'm interested to see, once we load some audiobooks in here, how it'll actually be. And of course, you can do your different list views and things like that. So you can either have pictures and graphics and the cover art, or you can just have the plain text, more or less whatever the way that you want. You can change the orientation from landscape to portrait mode, but you can actually only do this within the book, whereas other Sony e-readers allowed you to actually do it on your main home screen. You see a lot of options here. I'm not going to get into them all, but you can, check out your system management, and you can lock your device. You can change the standby screen, download destination, and so on. You can, change what dictionary by default you want it to go to. It wasn't a whole lot of customizable options in here, so I more or less found a settings screen almost worthless, as opposed to just setting up your initial Wi-Fi. You can hit the top here, and you can actually get almost an Android-esque thing here about what your notifications are, what you're doing. I would almost say that this is an Android-driven operating system. Would you say so?
I would say so. A lot of things like long press, pinch and zoom, the whole drop-down menu at the top are evident of it being Android.
Yeah, I mean, offhand, I can't say 100%. In our full written review, we'll do that. But, I mean, this just came out in Canada today, so we just picked this up today. So we'll be doing a more advanced review and a follow-up to this at some point, just to, iron out a few things. I do believe it's running Android OS, but I don't know, 100%. So the last thing... Oh, yeah, maybe we can check out device management. Nope, not a whole lot of info. Yeah. So the last thing that I kind of wanted to show you here is the web browser, and this is one of the first Sony e-readers to actually have, a web browser. So let's just check that out. And why don't you go to our favorite page, and hopefully for everybody watching this video, it's your favorite page as well. And we could just check out, along the way how the keyboard works. You can see that it's pretty accurate. When we were typing things in earlier, we weren't really screwing up too much. And yeah, it seems as though even though that we are connected to Wi-Fi, sometimes we will get these like connecting up to network prompts. And sometimes it takes a little while. So yeah, you can see here that we are checking out the internet experience. Pages are loading up like relatively quickly. You can pinch and zoom. Like I said, you can take screenshots of it, and these screenshots will show up in your pictures directory. It's not too bad. I'm pretty actually happy about how fast pages load up, but you can see as you scroll, the text almost becomes unreadable to it manually refreshes. I wish there was some sort of like option that we can do on, page refresh rate and stuff like that. One thing that you can do is if you go to the settings options here and go to more, you can actually like increase like the size of the fonts and things like that. Your medium default zoom. There's actually 3 pages of settings, and I think that that's pretty cool because most e-reader web browsers are really bare bones. Like a lot of the Barnes and Noble ones, other than like the Nook Color, it doesn't really give you a lot of options. Even like the Kobo web browser is pretty woeful at times. So this has been a full review of the Sony PRS-T1 e-reader. It's the one that just came out. It's more or less the follow-up to the Sony PRS-650. So hopefully you found this review both informative and insightful. For goodereader.com, my name is Marcus.
This is Peter.
Everybody take care.